Alright, hey everybody, today I'm going to show how to do a wet mount. I will say this at the beginning, that I don't recommend working this way. I like to work this way. It allows me to figure out the cropping after, but I test out all ideas like, you know, planting before, cropping after, and all those things. So this is one of those things I've just been playing around with recently, and you're more than welcome to try it as well. Alright, I'm going to go over the method that I would use here. This is not varnished, by the way. It's pretty much done, even though I look at it and I wonder if there's maybe a couple marks that I would add to it. Just a couple small little details, so I may not varnish it right away. Alright, so here's the thing. I have a frame here. I should take the corners off. And the frame, actually I can do it in this one. The frame is this is a 12 by 12 frame, and what I'd recommend is think about how you want to crop this. Now, I could lose a little bit of space over here if I crop it too far over there. It's not all that big of a deal. You could also intentionally make it go off, make it a little bit non-centered, but there's also a little bit of unfinished there. So I'm probably gonna do something like that. I could also move it down. So what I'd recommend is you have this all figured out before, and then that'll make the process a little easier. As I said, it feels like it's gonna probably, you know, it could go sideways. We're recording it. I am hoping it is not. So I'm gonna just put a mark down here just so I can see where I am going to place this. And next, what I'm gonna do is just find a straight line from the bottom to get the tape on there, and then I'm going to cut it. So let me see if I can get that. Alright, so something like this is about what the edge is going to be. There we go. About there to there. This doesn't have to be, of course, perfect. You make it as perfect as you want. Sometimes I'll even just have like something like this, just cut down, and it's just a little bit of a makeshift ruler that I made that just shows this is 12 by 12 that I'm going to cut down. It just helps me kind of plan a little bit, so you know, you get as detail oriented here as you want to. But what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to just measure, because this is squared. This is something you have to think about all the time. So from the top down to the bottom, it's about right there. And I'm going to just bring it over the other side, because if that's not squared, it's going to show when I frame it up. And that looks good. It's about good. Again, my paintings are never perfect, so I am going to just do that bottom edge just for now. And then I'm going to show you how the rest of the process goes. So I have this, which is just a cutting mat. I'd recommend you buying one to work to do this process. So here we go. I'm going to put it on there. Maybe I'll give just a tiny bit more room. There is a tiny amount of contraction that could happen from this, and you want to be very careful that you don't, I mean, it doesn't particularly matter. We're going to show you what happens. So I'm going to just slice that bottom edge just with a knife. I'm going to cut the bottom, make it a little bit of a key. This is where, you know, all this stuff could go sideways, so you have to be willing to do this. I have a friend who would do it professionally if I did mess it up. You know, if I didn't want to mess it up, he could do it. All right, so that's the paper, or the flowers, ready to go. And I'm just going to take that tape off. Let me just measure 10 more times. Not literally 10 times, but I'm just going to make sure that from there to there is that mark right there. I'm just going to come over here. Yeah, there we go. Can't measure enough. Make sure it's square. I'm just going to take this off for now. Put it over here. Make sure your surface is nice and clean. I'm going to take this board off and pop it to the side. And now I'm going to grab my panel. All right. Here is just a panel, aluminum panel that I purchased. And you can see it actually is ready to go, but it's got fingerprints all over it. So I'm going to grab a rag. Alright, so what I'm going to do is just try to get a lint-free rag. This is pretty much all I have. What you want to do a little in a different order here. What I'm going to do is grab sandpaper, and I'm just going to scuff the surface. Hope this isn't too loud for the shot. There's going to be pieces of aluminum, so you can vacuum that or you can just clean it. There we go. You can see it. It's actually on my hands. So I'm going to just dust that off. I'm going to just rotate it. I'm going to scuff it again. Hope that's not making a lot of sound. Now again, the reason why I'm doing this is that aluminum is a pretty slick surface. You can see all the dust there, right? I'm gonna just take one of my rags and just wipe it off. Again, that's in the air, so you want to be very, very careful not to breathe that crap in. That is aluminum. All right, next one I'm gonna do, I have denatured alcohol. I'm gonna pop the can open with a flathead. There we go. Now what I'm going to do is just take and get a rag, and I'm going to just put some denatured alcohol on a rag. What I want to do is just clean that surface. You can see there's just crap all over it. Just going to pull it up. I don't want fingers. I don't want grease. I don't want anything on it. I don't quite do this when I do linen on panel though, more for aluminum. There we go. So just let that dry. It won't take too long. Let me just push that off to the side. There we go. And now what I'm going to do is just take any kind of plastic container that you have. I put this off to the side because the shot, I think, is picking up a lot of reflected light. All right, and then I have a big thing of neutral pH adhesive line co. This is just polyvinyl acetate. It's really bookbinder's glue. See if it'll come out. Sometimes you gotta just take the cap, just open it back up. All right, if that doesn't work, you can always open it this way and then pour it. I always suggest putting more than you think. Probably use all this. I always pour too little, and therefore I gotta go back, get more. So anyway, that's a good amount. Do it in something clean, because if you do it in something dirty, it'll probably pull it all up. Here's just a soft varnish brush from Creative Mark. These are not all that expensive. I think you can get a whole bag of them. Anyway, I'm just making sure there's no crap in it. See a little bit of dust come out. There's a little bit of something in there. I'm just gonna push it off the lip. All right, here we go. So now I have my panel. Let me just move the light so that light is not so bright. There we go. And what I do is I will now take this. I like to line it up at the beginning. Now, I'm going to just take this over here, line it against the bottom edge, and pull it a little bit past. And the reason for that is, you can see it's just a little bit past that bottom. It's going to contract, and you want to be very careful because try to figure out how much contraction. I don't quite know. I'm sure there's some algorithm somewhere that somebody's figured it out, but I have not. And you know, with that in mind, if you don't, you'll just get just a little bit of contraction, and you may pick up a little of the panel. So I'm going to just feel the edge. Feels good. Now, if you wanted to, you could cut it down, but the reason why I don't cut the whole thing down is that I'm trying to make way for, allow for the contraction. So I'm going to just take a big amount, go right up to that edge. Put that down, press it, pull it off to the other side. What I'm going to just try to do is apply. You want to make sure there's not any stuff on the brush. This is where it will buckle. You'll have like, and I've done it, something underneath it. Try not to put your fingers on the surface as well. There we go. There we go. All right, what I'm going to do is just pull it all the way over. There we go. And now I'm just going to push the surface down. Pull this over here. This is kind of, you got to work a little fast here. There we go. All right, now I'm going to pull it from this way. And the reason why I do it like this is that I can now walk it up. So as it's covered, there we go. I want to just, don't dump it on, rush it on. The varnish pouring, such a bad practice, and so many, even professionals do. I have no idea why. I think it just makes for good videos, but if you care about your work, I wouldn't do it. There we go. So now I'm just gonna go right up, cover the whole thing. Now you could do this with Beva glue too. Beva glue is much more even, but you have to apply heat. It's the only way to get the glue to get back into a wet state. It's basically a film that is heat activated. So I'm gonna just pull that over. Now I'm gonna just walk that up and push, spray the surface. If you want to, you can get a bone, you know, I think it's called a bone roller, but what you want to do is just be gentle and feel the surface, you know, feel it, just smooth it out. There we go. And now it's adhered. I'm going to wait about 10 to 20 minutes and allow it just to dry, but it's going to contract a tiny amount. It already is. You can see it right over here, a little buckle. And I painted past the edge, which is accounted for. Because as I worked on this, I knew I was going to make it a little bit, probably like a 12 by 12. All right, and then if you want, you can take another panel, put it over the top, if it's larger in size. You can also find big heavy books, like the Art of Still Life, pop it on there, get that compression on there. Looks like it's a little bit bigger. All right, let me just see if I can find something else to apply even weight. Here's a 12 by 16. There we go. Go right to the bottom. All right, now if you did this and you were not, you didn't, if you like didn't get the right, if it was slightly skewed, I would just say don't freak out. There we go. Monet. All the Impressionist books are heavy. Good way to do this. So if you allow, if you messed up and you're off like a millimeter or something and slightly skewed the line, which I'll show in a minute, I would just suggest fixing the painting after, if it's like a perfectly perfect, you know, perfectly squared or something like that. So we'll come back in 10 minutes and then I'll show how to do the rest. All right, gonna take these off now, show you the next step. It's good to have heavy books around. Art of Still Life works good for this one. Let me just put these away. All right. Take that off. Gotta be careful with the surface. Be gentle with your paintings. All right. So now it's adhered down. And again, what I like to do is just check that bottom. You can see even the glue has pulled off a little bit, or dried, I should say, not pulled off. Alright, gonna go back to this, and what I'm gonna do is cut it down. Now the interesting thing about this glue is that it's heat activated. Polyvinyl acetate is good because, well, for many reasons, but one of the reasons is you can just add more heat to it, and you could pull this off if somehow you had an it went the wrong way. Just gonna pull it off, a little bit of paint. As I said, I accounted for that. You can see even the buckle right here. Here we go. Again, be gentle with the surface. There we go. So now, flip it over, it's mounted. And if you want, sometimes what I'll do is I'll peek around the corner and just pop this back into a frame. Look at that. Cut an edge of that. Just gonna pull it. Be careful, this is metal. So, again, check the bottom. I'm gonna just score the bottom. I mean, there's an advantage to having this all done. If this went sideways, you got all bubbles and all that stuff, which I think I talked about on a podcast, how one time it went totally south. And anyway, you want to be very, very careful and gentle when you're doing this. You're also touching the surface. Again, not most ideal, and there's, maybe a little bit of just stuff all over it, but let's just check, make sure I did it right. Hope I did it right on camera. Yeah, that feels good. All right, that's about it. So what I would do is just clean this all up. Presentation is a big part of, how you present yourself. And clean it. You can see there's those little metal fragments just in some places around here. But that's about it. Pop it in the frame, take a look, see how it looks. Maybe I'll just do that on camera so you can kind of see. I'll pull the edges. Sometimes it's just nice to see it in the final presentation. What I'll do is I'll grab a driver point. All right, I'll pull this over here. Clean all that off. It comes right off just by rubbing it. It's just like Elmer's glue, just pH neutral balanced. Let's pull this off. All right, so here's how to frame. Not that there's one way. I just put this face down. And again, a lot of the time what I'll do is I'll even paint this sometimes, but I'm gonna just pop it in here just so you can see. There's a driver point gun. What it does is it just secures it. Some galleries don't like those, so you ask how you want the relationship. Ask the gallery what they would like, and I'm just gonna flip it, and you'll see it. There it is. The final painting in the frame looks good to me.